Hi everyone, it's Barry from Jerusalem. Today is day 8 of the Omer. In a few hours it will be day 9. But 8 is very significant because 8 represents above nature. We all know that 8 days we have the Brit Milah, the circumcision. It involves God's interaction with man. And we see it very clearly in the Akedah, where Hashem was trying to show Yitzchak and Avraham and Yitzchak, what it is father and a son has to be connected in order to transmit the tradition. So we see in the first week was Chesed. Chesed, of course, is the kindness of Avraham. The first day was Chesed v'Chesed. Chesed v'Chesed is the ultimate Chesed of Hashem, because He is totally encompassed. Even though when we err, He comes back to us. Even in the end of days, He comes back to us. Mechayei Meitim. That's a gevura of real chesed. Now that He gives us another chance, even though we expired and our bones will be arise from the dust. So we gotta have to understand that the first week was all chesed, and each day is a reflection of the 7 shepherds. These are spiritual emanations that cultivate our personalities. They have certain characteristics which we can climb from Kedusha, which means we have to move away from Tuma, which is impurity, and try to build our souls to become more perfect. And this we need Chachma. Chachma is the wisdom of the Jewish people. And no other people has this Chachma. And I'm just explaining just a little bit of this Chachma, even though I'm not really knowing where it's coming from. But the bottom line is, all last week everything was bechesed, chesed bechesed, gevura bechesed, teferet bechesed. In other words, kindness in kindness, restraint in kindness, glory, beauty, teferet. That's Yaakov. Chesed is Avraham. Yitzchak is gevura, strength, din, justice, and teferet. So what's the difference between today is, instead of chesed and gevura, right? It's gevura. It's chesed and gevura today. Where last 7 days ago the time was chesed b'chesed, chesed b'gevura. So here's gevura b'chesed. You see. So how do we distinguish between the first week, the second day of the Omer, which was Gevura b'Chesed, and in this week it's Chesed b'Gevura? How do you distinguish what Hashem wants to teach us spiritual and on these spiritual emanations? Well, it almost sounds like the same. In the first week, in the second day, we have this concept of kindness tempered with restraint. And here we have, on the 8th day, restraint tempered with kindness. So we all know, Chazal tell us that Yamin is always to the right, and Gevura is always to the left. In other words, the Chesed of Avraham was always to the right. You move the right way, you do the right thing, right? But when you err, there's Gevura, there's justice, there's Elohim, the God of justice that came in the book of Shemot. But Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, this was El Shaddai. This was the God that they each came individually to discover and reveal the inner secrets of the Jewish tradition, because they had not yet received the Torah. But the Torah is now to be received 49 days later in the count. So now we're in day 3. So if we look at Chazal, we have the 13 principles of Rabbi Yishmael, which look at the klal and the prat, and the prat and the klal. The klal is the general, the prat is the particular. So here we have this understanding that in order to come back to ourselves, we have to go back into the cloud. We have to go to the center. You can look at the center like when you throw a pebble into water, and Torah is actually referred to as water. But what happens when you throw a pebble into water? It ripples. You don't even think about it, but it ripples. In other words, the center where the action of the pebble drops in creates a concentric circle, and it keeps building different circles. So that's what this tshuva is like. We have chesed, which is yamin, and gevura, which is small. Avraham, Yitzhak, Teferet, the balance, Yaakov. And we're also going from the particular to the center. So we start off with the center. That's the pebble going in. And we're building something. In nature, 8, right, is above nature. What causes this concentric circle? So the sages, in their brilliance, in their wisdom, determined that this chachma of the Jewish people revolves around these 13 principles. And the 13 principles, which we learn the oral tradition in the Talmud, all reflect an emes, or truth, regarding every particular coming into the center, into the general. And just like the particular coming into the general, we have the Jew, who is the yachid, the individual, and the klal, see, which is the general. This is the community. But on Yom Kippur, the individual and the klal are considered like one, because as a community, we have to be one with Hashem. Just a little opener, just to get you to see the depths of Jewish thinking. You have emes. We don't just make these things up. The rabbis argue, and you could have 10 rabbis against one if the one gets to the truth of the matter, right? Right now you have in the universities, which I call the poison ivy universities, you have misplaced chesed, and then you have judgment, and then you have violence. But we Jewish people look for the accurate chesed, the real kindness. And so we should all count up every day, try to perfect our own personal characteristics till we come to that understanding that God is running the show. Ein lo bilvado, there is none other than him. Ein lo bilvado, because we think we make our choices, and we have bichira, we have choice. But Hashem has worked out a system. When we make a mistake, we can always come back to him. That's the chachma of the Jewish people. And his chesed b'chesed, chesed b'mishpat. The understanding that we can always come back to the kingdom of his essence. We have the kingdom in heaven, we have the kingdom on earth. And he chose the land of Eretz Israel to be his kingdom on earth. And we have to respect it. Derech Eretz Kadman Torah. The way of the land comes before the Torah. A lot of rabbis interpret that as that you have to be decent, you have to be a decent person. But when you have nations out there who just bad mouth the Jews for no reason, this is the reason why God came into the land of Israel, to destroy the 7 idol worshippers. We left Egypt to get away from the idols. That's the whole idea. And what does that lead us to become? More humble. So think about true humility, and you really want to fight the enemy. The enemy is the enemy also from within. Because when you doubt yourself as a Jew, then you're doubting your potential to grasp the heavenly understanding of what the tradition is about. We're still here because we're bothering with Hashem's world. And we're saying, this is the truth. And you can make mistakes in judgment. But the Jewish people said, let's be clear what's happening, you know. And we have to try to understand and have clarity. because the clarity of the Jewish people is in the unity of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avram is the chesed, giving, giving, giving. Yitzchak is gevura, restraint, holding back, the Akedah. Remember he took him up to the Akedah? He said, Yitzchak. He had three individuals there. There was Yishmael, which is the Muslim tradition. He had his servant Eliezer, a very high personality. And when he came with Yitzchak, he said, Yitzchak, do you see what's on the mountain? Do you see the Shekhinah? The Shekhinah is the heavenly presence. Do you see it on the mountain? He said, yes. Though the Mishnah says, Yachad, they went together. Together they went up. And that's the purpose of the whole idea of humanity, where the Jews have a role with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, bringing together humanity. That's the ultimate redemption, is that everybody's going to understand. Unfortunately, we are the role models. I say fortunately and unfortunately. Unfortunately, people don't understand it. But if we give the Jewish people a chance, and you try to work above this craziness and believe in the wisdom of the Jewish people, there's hope for the world. Because we're here to help the nations, believe it or not. Even though the nations are hating us more than ever. It all has to do with jealousy. It all has to do with this concept of chosen, which everybody blows out of proportion. We're chosen for a specific job, to do God's will. That's it. Everybody has a job. There's three prayers we say in the morning. Shalom Asani Isha, Shalom Asani Goy, Shalom Asani Ever. That you didn't make me a woman, that you didn't make me a Gentile, that you didn't make me a slave. Yeah, it's freedom. But what happens when you mesh these characteristics together? When you mix the genders, what do you have? You don't have MS. You have sheker. A man is now a woman and a woman is now a man. Come on. You need the Torah to distinguish between a man and a woman, because it's all made up. Whatever the nations are saying is all sheker. So you have to sift through the sheker as a Jew, know who you are as a Jew, and know when you learn Torah, you're actually becoming more humble, because you just really understand how little you do know. Even the greatest Torah masters, they never thought anything of their knowledge. But when attacked, all the knowledge comes together and they pursue the right way of Hashem. We should all pursue Hashem in brotherhood, whether we're Jewish or not Jewish, and stop this nonsense. Everybody, day 5, we're counting up to 49 days. I hope to do this daily, but it's not so simple every day. But for you, I made it just before I go to synagogue now. We're getting ready to count the next day. All right. Have a good week.